Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you some best practices in modeling. Getting the data model correct is the most important part of Power BI. A lot of the times when you have DAX queries that are not providing you the right answer, there is a possibility it's due to your model and the way you have it set up. So let's take a look at the data set that we're working with. This is a hotel booking data set, and we have 2018, 2019, 2020 data, and then we have some market segments. All this data has been loaded into Power BI. If we go over to the modeling tab, we can see that it already have been some auto detected relationships. So if I was to bring in a new set of data, Power BI will auto detect where that data is coming from. And let's just go through an example. I'm going to bring in the historical bookings for this data set. So before 2018, and let's see that auto detect the relationships. We're going to bring in hotel bookings. We're going to load it, and let's see how it changes this model. We can see it's already added some relationships between the meal cost table and the marketing segment table. So this is auto detected relationships, and I don't think this is a good feature in the most part. It does do a fantastic job of discovering relationships. However, I would like to create my own relationships. So in order to do that, we can go up to manage relationships, and we can get rid of all of these relationships. So I've gotten rid of the first relationship. If I highlight that with shift, we can get rid of all the relationships. I'm going to close that, and we see that there are no relationships there. Similarly, we can click this and click auto detect, and it will recreate all those relationships. So let's look at our data. We know we have 2018, 19, and 20, plus we have our historical data. So these are all our data tables. We can see there's a lot of data in there. These are also called fact tables. If we look at our marketing segment and our meal cost, these are our filters or our lookup tables. We want to connect those to our fact tables. So I can build a relationship by definitely finding the keys between these two tables. And between hotel bookings, we have marketing segments. I can drag that, and you can see it's created a one-way relationship. And if I click that, we can see that it goes from a many to one relationship, where the segment has one key that is going to filter all of the information here, and it's going in one direction. So it doesn't filter back up. I'm not filtering the marketing segments table by the hotel bookings table. I'm only filtering the hotel bookings table by marketing segment. So of course I can go through the process of creating all these relationships, and you can drag it manually like this. However, we don't know if it's created the right relationship. You can see here by just simply dragging it to the table, it has not. It has filtered on the assigned booking room. And this has filtered on arrival date. And this is assigned room type. You definitely don't want to blindly drag these to make connection. So let's go back up to manage relationships. And we know that we have the keys to the tables. So we can see what we have used to link that. We have our primary key here, which is the marketing segment, and we want to filter these on marketing segment. We can see that it properly did it here, but it didn't here. So you can go into that relationship and click edit, and then instead of using year, we go over to our marketing segment here. We make sure that the table with all of the rows that we want, all of the columns that we want to filter is on the many side, and the single is on the one side. So we're using this single column to filter all of the data here. And it's going in one direction. We can do the same for this. And again, now we can see all of those are filtered correctly. We can close that. If you take a look, we are starting to see a structure here. It looks like a waterfall. And this is a structure we want to have. We want to have our lookup tables or our filter tables at the top and our fact tables at the bottom. So now we can do the same action with our meal cost. Now we want to avoid having, a spaghetti type nature, because when we give this model over to someone, we can make them understand that these top layer tables are filtering the fact tables. So we know that hotel bookings, which is the historical bookings, 2018, 2019, and 2020 are all the same in terms of columns. We can create one data set from this. So instead of having all of these connections, we can create one connection to a larger table that we can create through an append to our lookup tables. So let's go through that procedure. Let's go to transform data. And there are our three tables in our historical table. So I am going to create a new append, or you can append it to this just by going to append, clicking new. I need three or more tables. I'm going to highlight by the tables that I want by clicking control and the mouse button. And then I'm going to hit add. And then we see we have one extra here, so you can delete it. We hit add, and then you will see a new table called append 1. You can change the name by double clicking it and call this full hotel bookings. Now if I close and apply this, we know that we've had a new table added to our model. And we can see that that table is much larger. And because we haven't taken off AutoDetect, let's see what the reaction is going to be in our model. Boom, we have some automatic relationships. To eliminate that from happening before we go back and deal with this complex model, you can go to the report pane, go to file, go to options, then we're going to go to data, load, and then we're going to uncheck auto detect new relationships. And then we can avoid that happening. Now that we have this one table, and we know we want to have our fact tables at the bottom, we don't need to load these into our models or as a query. So the first thing we want to do is go back over to transform data. We see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tables that we don't want to load. And if we right click one of those tables, we can see enable load, and we can turn that off. You're going to get this warning saying there's a possible data loss. However, we know that we haven't made any visuals or used these tables in any calculations yet. So I'm going to click continue, and you can see that that is italicized. I'm going to do the same for the rest of the tables that I don't need. Now this is not going to eliminate these tables from the refresh, so if there's new data there, it will populate. However, it's not going to load this individual table into your model anymore. And one more. Now that we've taken care of that, that will speed up your model. I'm going to hit close and apply. We can see now we have a much cleaner model where we have a one-to-many relationship with a long table of data. We already have a cleaner model that we can pass on to someone else to understand and give a description of what this is. Appended tables from historical and 2018 through 2020. That is a good way to document what is going on. Now, we have a model. However, how do we create new lookup tables? For example, we can start building this model out. If I go back over to our report pane and I go to modeling, I click new table, we can utilize the values function. The values function will return a unique list of values. So one thing I may want a unique list of is countries. So if I click the country column, I'm going to rename this country, and we can see if we go back over to our modeling tab, we have a new table called country, and we can create a new relationship by dragging this over, and we can see if by double clicking it, it didn't create the right relationship. So we can go over, click country, make that relationship. Remember, we have many to one. And now we have a filter that allows us to filter everything. You might be asking yourself, so why do we even need that? We need it because we may want to add new information to our model that is not easily found in our fact table. So now that we have this virtual table, we see that it is allowing us to connect our fact tables using DAX. However, remember that this table It's virtual. It does not exist. So if we go over to our Edit Queries menu, you will see there's no country in our queries. Now that can be advantageous and it can also be disadvantageous. If I wanted to bring in some deeper level of detail about the country, I wouldn't be able to connect that to our country table without some complex DAX. So there's another way that we can create a unique value table such as this is using reference. So let's go through an example. We can go over to our table. We can right click it. We can go to reference. Now, the reason we didn't copy is because if we copy any one of these tables, we're going to copy all the applied steps. I just want to reference the source table. I only want the country. So I'm just going to highlight all of these by clicking and going all the way over and pressing Shift, navigating back to our country, pressing Control and deselecting that with the mouse. I'm going to remove all the columns by just going over to Remove Columns. Now that I have that column, I just want the distinct values, so I'm going to go to Remove Rows and then Remove Duplicates. I'm going to call this Country Reference. Now that I have that country reference, I can go and get a new source, which will operate as a new query. I'm going to go to web because I'm going to use Wikipedia's list of countries here to see if I can get a richer level of data here. We'll see if that works. So I'm going to copy the URL, go back over, put this inside. Hopefully this is one big table if we get lucky. Okay, connect. It's going to show us the tables that exist and how it's structured. So if we click the first one, we can see there is quite a lot of information. The second table, third table, fourth table, fifth table. So we look like we just want to bring in that first table. So if I bring in the first table, we will be connecting on column 4. And then we have a lot of stuff that we may not need. So now that we have those two tables, I'm going to use a merge. So I'm going to keep this as the left table. If you know anything about SQL, I'm going to do a left join. So I'm going to keep the country reference, which we use, as our left. I'm going to go to merge queries. And then I'm going to go to merge. Then I want to use this table, and then I want to use column 4 as our matching column, and then in our country reference I want to use this one. It will give us an estimated matches based on how many are connected. We can see that I did a left outer join. and we only see one. So if we do fuzzy, we can see we virtually got everything, but let's see the quality of that. Let's open up the table. So column, wow, there were 1, 2, 3, 4 is the alpha code. And then I don't know which one would be better, but let's try that one. Actually, so we got 4 and 5. I'm going to go back up to merge queries, and I'm going to see if we got a better answer with 5 without the fuzzy matching. Let's do it again. So I'm going to go to merge queries. I'm going to go to our Wikipedia table. We know that we have a few columns, 4 and 5. I'm going to try 5 and see how many are estimated correct. So on column 5, we had virtually all of them match. So I'm going to just go with that. And then we can always correct the ones that are not correct. And then I'm going to go to the table. I remember the first column was our names, and that's all I want to bring in. I'm not going to bring in the prefix, and let's see what the result is. Looks pretty good so far. So we'll stick with that for this example. It looks good. There's some cleanup that needs to be done, but this is an example. And we should see this pop up in our model. And remember, we can see these applying the queries, but we know that now that we have a country reference, we want to take this one off our enable load. So now we see these two in our model. Instead of, let's go back and fix that a little bit. We're missing a column. So country reference, we need to name this. We can call this full country, full, and then we can disable this one and continue. We know we're going to get this error. I'm going to close and apply, and let's see. You should see the difference here. Now we see this one is the only one that's loading, and that other one has disappeared out of our model. We don't need this anymore because we know we're going to be using the country reference as our country table. We're going to pull country down here and see if it gave us the right connection. It did not. So we just click the connection line, or we can go up to manage relationships. We know we want a one to many, so the one table is here and the many columns that we want to filter is here. Let's go over to our abbreviation for country. Click OK. Now we have our lookup tables at the top and our country reference table connected. We're already in a very good position to do our analysis. I hope that shows you how to make a simple model with Power BI using the values and the references and creating a waterfall schema. If you have any questions or concerns, please write them in the comment section. The next video, we're going to look at some more complex models and how to set those up using the modeling and Power BI. Thank you again for your attention and support.